welcome into Fox Carolina Tailgate. I'm joined by Patrick Sapp and calling an audible here with a different Corey this week. Corey Atkins, former linebacker with South Carolina, stepping in for our man, Corey Miller, this week. We really appreciate you joining us.
Yes, welcome, man.
Thank you,
welcome.
thank you, thank you.
Ready to throw some elbows a little bit? Talk a little
ready.
Clemson, Carolina football.
Definitely.
Yeah, there's lots to talk about this week after a couple of disappointing losses between the both of them. So,
Yes.
I wish we had you here on better terms with a better game to talk about. I want to start, though, with that Clemson game. Another overtime game, a double overtime on this one, and a loss. And obviously, the big talker on this one are the comments after the game and Cade's decision-making in that final play. A lot of people saying that Dabo threw Cade under the bus. Other people saying that's accountability. Where do you lie?
Exactly, accountability. I mean, this is two games that was very questionable. But I would say in this game, I mean, more so in the Florida State game, this was just a design run. It was no reads involved. It was no other decision-making involved. Leaving the timeout, they even talked about, we have, less than a foot to get, so we're going to run it. Let's discuss the two-point play. And he goes out and he pulls the football with two guys outside of him. And so as a coach, you got to teach your young quarterback the lesson.
But Dabo makes too much money not to take the heat for that call. So.
Well, I mean, that's one thing. But
he threw him on the bus. He threw him on the bus. And he makes too much money to do that.
How about the fact that Cade was the one who said it first? Cade was asked post-game, and Cade owned it. Cade said it was obviously already discussed.
Right.
It was obviously already. So at the same time, and Shane Beamer's notorious for this, it's holding your guys accountable. It's about accountability. And like you said, it's not the first time that we've seen decision-making and those errors in those critical moments. At some point, you have to ask your guy to grow up. At some point, you have to ask your guy to mature. So is this, right, tough love?
In this particular time, he should have took the heat.
Okay.
Well, so here's where I disagree with that. If this is your quarterback, and this is the guy that you are going to lean on for the next 2 years after this season, right? And he's the guy that's going to take you to the promised land, get you back in the playoffs. He has to grow up. He has to learn from his mistakes. And obviously, he didn't learn from the first one.
They talked about it behind the scenes. Dabo could say, you know what, I'm going to take the heat for this, but I need to hold you more accountable. They talk behind the scenes.
Though, we're in a situation right now with both Clemson and Carolina where the coaches and the decision-making has come into question. This is happening a lot at South Carolina the last couple of years, and it happened a ton last year with the offense in Clemson, and everybody's asking, why isn't this TCU offense firing like it was last year? So is this a level of defending your coaching staff? At some point, do you have to defend Riley? Do you have to stand up and take that for him and let Cade wear one?
I don't think so. Not at this particular time. I think that play, it was a bad play, but at the same time, I really think Dabo should have just stepped up and said, you know what, that was on me.
You know what, my biggest issue with the whole thing was the moment it went to overtime, I went, I don't have a lot of confidence in Clemson in overtime. I don't have a lot of confidence in Clemson offense in a clutch situation right now, and that's a problem.
Well, I mean, you fumbled the ball in the end zone. I mean, really, that was a safety that they did not call.
Yes.
I don't know why it wasn't called, but clearly to me it was a safety in the game. And so critical things and errors in that game. And so when you have a quarterback, after a timeout, when you say run the football and he don't run it, who has to take that? He has to eat that. He has to get whatever negative press, negative comments during the week. He has to get that, deal with that, and hopefully through that, the next time, he does what the coach tells him to do.
How about that was his decision? I feel like that's getting lost in all of the conversation of who should have taken the blame. Is what did he see?
Great point. Well, if you go back to last year talking about Cade and what I thought about him, a guy that has had much high school successes yet, he does not know when to give up on the play. And that's why he's thrown the interceptions and the turnovers he had so far this season. Secondly, a guy with that much success that early is he wants to be the guy, and he's used to being the guy. And so you have to learn that as a young quarterback that, hey, This is Power 5 football. That defensive end is just as fast as you, if not faster.
Yeah, I
right?
agree.
That linebacker is faster than you.
I agree.
And so he's not learning that. And so now this late in the season, with so much on the table, man, he got to grow up. He has to learn from it.
I mean, he does need to accept the responsibility, but at the same time, I think as a head coach, you can't leave your top guy out there.
How concerning was that play, though, when you look at Cade and his decision making now well into over half of a season as a starter?
Mm-hmm.
Are those decisions concerning for you if you're looking at the future of your program?
Well, when you do film study, it's always not as bad as it seems. That particular play is blown out of proportion because it was the last play.
Right.
And it was a big play. But in the scheme of things, I mean, that's something that can be definitely coached. Had he read that end better, it might have been the right call to make. And maybe he saw the end crashing a little bit more than he thought he was, so that's why he took the ball.
Yes.
So it could be definitely depends on how it's looked at.
I think this is like a part that's totally lost in the shuffle of all of this. And I was talking to my dad about this because I'm like, how often you want your guy to want the ball? Can you imagine if he was like, nope, just gonna. If this had worked, he would have been a hero. If this had worked, you want your guys to want the ball.
Here's why. This is bigger than, I think
Okay.
you say, people making it bigger than it is. It's not because you're on a team that's used to winning. You're struggling this year. You have a veteran led on defense. Those guys have played a lot of snaps older than him. You don't want your quarterback to lose the team, right? You don't want the team to lose faith in him. And so two scenarios where you do different.
Are they close to that?
If I was on that team and Corey played at that level, you think about it. You out there grounding on defense, and you got a young quarterback supposed to be a stud that makes a mistake like that. I wouldn't even say a mistake, that just does what he wants to do and lose the game. Come on now, you've been there now. We all have been there.
He was going full speed. It might not have been fast, but he was going full speed, and it was a mess up. Look, if you go in full speed and make a mistake, I'm okay with it. Now I will pull him into the locker room and say, hey man, stay within the bounds.
Yeah, but man, it's just critical. And
so where do they
it's
go
just
from
a
here?
mistake. So where you go from here is that, hey, you make the competition in practice better. Because to me, what corrects a lot of us as players, Corey's been there, is competition at your position. Right or wrong. Now, I ain't saying Cade should be benched. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm telling you in practice.
It sounds very Clemson-like, I just got to say.
Well,
I mean, this sounds like very like a Clemson fan right here.
I'll take that.
I always love the backup quarterback.
No, I don't love the backup. I'm saying structure practice a little different and see how your young guy reacts to that. Nobody has to know that on Saturday. Nobody outside of your team has to know that. But make it a little more competitive in practice, and you get the best out of people now.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, on the other side of things, South Carolina has a quarterback that has been a spectacular leader for his team. We know you're a big Spencer Rattler fan, so we're going to turn the conversation over to Spencer Rattler and South Carolina when we come back from this break. But first, we're going to toss it over to First Alert Chief Meteorologist Kendra Kemp for a look at this weekend's weather.